November 23rd, 2022, Auburn, California, sitting here with Tom Dwelle. My question is Thailand. You went to Thailand during your government ordered you to Thailand at some point, right? So then my question is not necessarily flying related. It's what was life like there on the ground in Thailand? When were you there and what was it like to be there?
Well, it's summer of 1973, and I had just graduated from a class down in Victorville to get current in the American F4. I'd been flying the English F4 with the British, the Royal Navy F4K, and the Royal Air Force F4M when I was in London at the Headquarters Fighter Command as on exchange. So that was a lot of fun, and flying the Hawker Hunter. So now I'm back home to get current in the American F4, the F4CDE, and then I was sent to Thailand, to Udon, Thailand this time, in the Slata D, the very latest F4, which was Wizard, although I wasn't thrilled with the F4. It didn't. It had the wrong number of seats. It had a navigator in the back, and a navigator's like a wife. There's nothing better than a good one, nothing worse than a bad one. So, and those guys, they didn't want to be there. The war was over. Again, it's 1973, and we were flying, doing mass loads and combined flights. Straight across Laos at North Vietnam, and then turning around and coming home. So we did that for 6 months. Thailand was wonderful. I loved it. I had my own hooch. It was the half of a 40-foot container, air-conditioned bathroom, and I had a roommate over on the other side, shared bath, and life was good. Air conditioned. Oh my God, we never had anything like that in Vietnam in 1965. So, I was between marriages, so I ultimately had a girlfriend. Her name was Han Tong, and she was an American. Well, she was married to an American, but he went home and she stayed there with the family. So she had an ID card and she could get on the base and go to the BX and all that kind of stuff, which was very useful. Go to the club. And we had a lot of fun. And you know, there's nothing like having a sleep-in dictionary to learn the language. And Charlie Neal was there with me. He was my buddy. And we had a lot of fun there. Gosh. Going to town and going out on Sunday. We would go out into the jungle in a samlar, not a samlar. It was a Tijuana taxi. It's a taxi, and a bunch of us, like 6 of us or so, guys with girlfriends, would go out into the jungle to the Buddha, go and see Buddha. And it was go pay homage to the Buddha. Sawadee kon Buddha kon sabadi look up. Oh, it was wonderful. And the Buddhist priests were all dressed in their orange robes, and they were good guys. They were democratic and very pro-American, and this was the time in Thailand, in Saigon, actually later to become Ho Chi Minh City, but the Buddhist priests were protesting against the government. Nguyen Cao Ki, actually before that was Tu, Tieu, Tu, and Ziem, who was assassinated by the CIA. So it was a very tumultuous time. This was the time when the French restaurant was blown up down in Saigon on the river. I forget the name of the restaurant, but it's the best one in town. Everybody loved it. It was on a boat. You go out on the gangplank onto the boat, and while I was there, the Viet Cong came in and set up grenades, not grenades, but the shells, the claymore mines on the gangplank. Okay,
Oops.
and they ran into the restaurant and threw a grenade in there, and then Didi Mao, they took off over the horizon, and as people were in a big panic to get out, and everybody on this long gangplank, then they set off the claymore mines, and it killed a lot of people. Wow, that was very soon after I got there, so that was a rude awakening. This shit could be serious. So we went into Saigon frequently. It was an interesting place. I got a lot of good pictures. And if you wanted a new flight suit or a hack watch or boots, jungle boots or whatever, could probably even bought an M16, but we had plenty of those. And down at Tudo Street, down on the docks, and it was a black market. So that was just terrible, because the little people were liberating a lot of stuff meant for the war and putting it on the black market downtown. So it was dreadful, but it was a fact of life. They had a couple of hotels down there, the Rex, where everybody would go and stay overnight. I never did that. I didn't want to stay down there. We were air commandos, and I didn't, I was always heavily armed, and not heavily armed, but armed going in there. I had a 22 caliber Magnum Derringer, 22 Magnum Derringer. That was my brothel gun. And it was an interesting place. You go into the bars, and Saigon tea, you to get a barmaid by a lady of the night. What do we call them? Tea dollies or something, I don't remember. Tilaks. No, tilak is a permanent thing. My lady Han was a tilak. That's a girlfriend, live-in girlfriend. And boy, that was good duty. Holy crap. The Asian women just treat you like a king, and it was magnificent. As long as the money flows in, it's like buying love. And it was good. It was good. Holy crap. And my lady was one of the very most beautiful, and boy, and she knew it too. Skinny as a rail, and little monkey butt, Charlie Neal. we had a lot of fun going to the bathhouse downtown, the Holiday Inn, and go there for the rub and scrub, and that was a lot of fun.
What was the base like?
The base was locked up. You had to have an ID card to get on, and it was a series of containers. Where are we? This is the first 6 months. Okay, we're at Udorn, and that was a combat base. We were still ready to go to war. The base was secured. Had a wonderful officers' club, good entertainment. The big restaurant in town was owned by the Thai base commander, and he got a little spread on all of that. And I remember the menu was veal Gordon Bleu, not cordon bleu. It was GORDONBLUE, veal Gordon Bleu. So you knew what you were getting into. And Charlie and I ate there every night, and if we weren't flying, and it was good duty. The base was secure, and we had a hooch downtown on the Mekong River, and we'd go down by taxi down in onto the river, and it was a great place. The Buddha would come and visit us. He knew we were Americans and we were friendly, and Buddha would come in and sit with us out on the porch. I could stand on the porch and pee in the and whiz in the Mekong River. And every now and then you'd see bodies coming down the river. So or laying in the road, coming and going. It was an interesting time. And as we were pulling out in 1974, early 74, the natives were getting restless, and they knew we were going, and graft and corruption and stuff was starting to get bad. The worst thing was Wolfman Jack. We had and he was a white guy, but sounded black, and I'm stunned to learn he was not black. Wolfman Jack, and he had the blacks all stirred up. Oh, it was awful. Race relations, oh my God. Oh, it was awful. Everybody had to go to race relations school, and the social actions people were king, and you had to go to race relations school a couple of days, and you had to have blacks there, and it was dreadful. They tried to force you to use the N-word to your 10 guys on the other side of the table, 10 white guys on one side and 10 guys on the other side, and they tried to force me to say the N-word. And meanwhile, the blacks on the other side, you white honky ass motherfucker, you just a motherfucker, you did, and they're out of control, screaming and yelling. And Charlie went to the one with the wing commander, Bill. Charlie was an operations officer for one of the fighter squadrons, and so he got to go in with the commander, and these black guys were calling the wing commander a honky white-ass motherfucker. You just a motherfucker. I never could bring myself to do that. I called him a jungle bunny or something like that, a Juliet Bravo, but Jigaboo. But no, I couldn't do that. I just refused, and they were raising hell with me, and I said, go away. I'm not doing that.
Good to know that that race relations what's the word? Where the organization tries to school you on race relations and things. Good to know it was jacked up 50 years ago, so I suppose we shouldn't expect any progress now, huh?
It was horribly jacked up. That was the height of the Vietnam War. Maybe not the height right at the end, but I was there 6 months flying in a fighter squadron, which I did not like. I had no use for those guys in the back, and they knew it. I'd been flying air defense in the F-106 and the F-86 Interceptor, and I was way better at radar than any of those guys. I could lead a flight of 4 out on a strike or whatever, and see a flight of 4 coming right back at us, 1,000 feet high or low, I remember, and I could call them and spot them before any of the 4 other guys, my guy in the back seat and the 3 other guys, before they called it out, and I'd call them out and okay, and we had IFF, so you could tell they were friendly. During that time, we had enemy IFF, so they're called combat tree, so we could. If we came across a Russian MiG, a North American MiG fighter, then we could tell it was MiG, and then we could shoot them. That was the problem, that you couldn't shoot until they were absolutely identified. Fast forward to last month, I went to the American Fighter Aces Association. Colonel Bud Anderson, actually soon to be General Bud Anderson, my neighbor and fighter pilot extraordinaire, shot down 16.25 Germans in World War II with his P-51 Mustang, Old Crow. He's famous. We got him promoted to general. That happens next month, 2nd of December. But it was where am I? I'm lost. We were at the Fighter Aces conference, and we got him promoted, and I lost my train of thought. So 6 months at Udorn, up in north central Thailand, And then I came home for Christmas and into Travis Air Force Base and went straight back. SAC had a U-2 crew there, and they were and drones and all kinds of neat stuff. So I could come out of Benoit and go straight all the way into one turn in Guam or something, and then all the way back to Beale Air Force Base. And boy, that was hot. And then a week later, went straight back. So there's a day each way, and then I got reassigned to Nakhon Phanom. NKP, we called it, or Naked Fanny, up in the northeast corner, right on the Mekong River again, closest to North Vietnam, right, Laos, directly across the river. And again, Charlie and I were over there again. He was the chief of ground attack, or no, plants and no, that isn't right. We were both. Yeah, he was chief of ops plans, and I was chief of fighter ops, and ultimately the chief of air defense. They kept transferring people out, going home, going home. This would be January '64 now, January through for 6 months through the summer, and I took on the CIA, and they tried to kill me and missed. But I got nothing for the damn Central Intelligence people. They're just crooks. They're just another arm of doing things and doing illegal things, and that's fine. I mean, you got to have somebody that'll do that and not get caught. But it's a shame when you get hung up in the middle of that and try to figure out some of their nefarious acts, because they don't like that a damn bit. As chief of air defense, it's my airspace, god damn it. And they're flying helicopters and shit on through my airspace across our radars. And I figured out what they were doing. Used a Spectre C-130 with all the magic stuff, used it as an interceptor, using a combination of air defense radar, the big L-band radar, and then the base weather radar, and the GCA radar, ground controlled approach, GCA radar search, and the precision approach. We had 5 radars, and boy, and I outmaneuvered them. I back-channeled them, top secret. I found a top secret thing, and anyway, tasked this deal on and used the C-130 as an interceptor, and I figured it out, and boy, were they pissed. I got fired, in effect, except they didn't have anybody to be their chief of air defense, so I just got told to stand down and stop doing that, and oh God, I was furious, and I threatened to tell them that well, never mind. Anyway, they didn't like that a damn bit. So ultimately, we presided in the evacuation of Phnom Penh. We got the embassy people out of there. That was Operation Frequent Wind. I think that's right. And got them all out of there. I think we pulled out 1,500-1,800 people, and very key people among the special forces people, the Vietnamese, the Laotian Hmong that were doing our fighting up in Laos, and we got them out of there, and all the embassy people of Phnom Penh, the capital of Laos, and now another one, Frequent Wind. Frequent Wind, the other one, what was that? Anyway, now the evacuation of the embassy in Saigon. And now I'm the chief fighter and air defense. And so we're evacuating people. I think we evacuated 3,500 people out of the embassy. I had Jolly Green Giants, big giant helicopters, Knife and Jolly helicopters, CH-3 and HH-3 big armed helicopters back and forth to the two aircraft carriers that we had directly off of Saigon, and we shuttled them back and forth, and every now and then we'd get a, it happened a lot, we'd get a Vietnamese helicopter full of people and family and kids, and everybody would land anyway, get waved off, shoot flares, everything. No, screw that. They'd land, and they'd get out in their helicopter or their push straight over the side. Anybody that landed wasn't authorized. They took them off. Refugees, lucky ones, pushed their means of locomotion straight over the side. One Thai base commander. One Vietnamese base commander commandeered an L-19, and I think he had, it's a single-engine Cessna, and I think he had 8 people in there, and it was awful. And he made it onto the boat and got stopped. And they took them all on board and pushed that L-19 straight over the side. So I'm telling you, it was an exciting time. And finally, I had to quit Cambodia because the Pathet Lao, the Laotian communists, kept getting the circle closer and closer and closer around Phnom Penh. And we knew by then they had the SA-7, the shoulder-fired air defense missile. It's good up to 5,000-6,000 feet and home in on the exhaustive airplane. I know we lost 3 Sky Raiders in 2 days one time before we figured that out, and we should have known. Damn, intel people were just freaking worthless throughout the whole war. They would know stuff, and damn it, and they wouldn't tell us. Here we are going to war. Here's Paris B-52s are bombing one day, day 3. Your grandfather, Kenneth Marion Holloway, was the big wing commander in Guam, and he'd send over 30 airplanes every day. And on day 3, I'm leading a flight of 4 out over the down in the Mekong Delta somewhere. And in the brief, I talked to the lieutenant. I said, okay, he said, here's your target, just a set of coordinates, Alpha Mike 835634, so whatever it was, down in the south, Delta Romeo, whatever. And what's the mission? Well, it's probably interdiction or combat or combat air patrol or I don't know. You meet the forward air controller, Cobra 10, I think. It wasn't Cobra 11. That was Bruce Worrell. It was not Bruce that day. It was Cobra somebody or other. Just a little bit north of Bruce's area, and just over the coordinates and contact the FAC. And so we get over the coordinates. I said, hey, FAC 10, it's a SPAD 1-3 flight. 4 Sky Raiders were loaded to the gill. We got bombs, rockets, napalm, white phosphorus. We got something for everybody. What's the drill? Roger, stand by. He said, I don't know what the drill is. We're just supposed to wait. So I'm orbiting over these coordinates, and we're at 5,000 feet, and we're flight of 4, and we're all spread out. We're relaxing. God bless. And there'd been bombers the 2 previous days. 3. They'd come over in a 3, a lead and then a wingman, and then they'd line up and drop the bombs. And I have good pictures of all of that. And so I said, what about where are the B-52s today? Oh, no, sir, we have no word on that. No, so we don't. I said, come on, that's 2 days in a row. Surely they're somewhere. He said, no, I don't know about that. So we go, lo and behold, right in the middle of this thing. The bombs start falling between us. Right, I look up at 16, 17,000 feet, and here's three crowd killers there. Bombs are going off right below us. 105 bombs times 3 airplanes spread out right below us. Jesus Christ. Okay, so we pulled out, and then here comes some more. Now, the fax says, forward air controller says, okay, now we're supposed to support a heliborne assault. Well, here comes the little people in the helicopters, and they're supposed to go in and get all of this good intelligence, which is now all blown away. Well, the thing was compromised, and there were no enemy there. The enemy had bailoed out of there, quickly, and didn't get anything. And I don't remember even expanding on that. They went in the ground probably. We may have had smoke that day, but we could lay down smoke to obscure there. And I wish I had one of those pods. Oh my God. It was nothing like you've ever seen in an air show. But you had to do it right. One time I did it upwind from the raid, and it smoked out, and they had to call off the whole thing because the smoke and it would stick around, and it just went IFR. It was dreadful. So we learned that the hard way. But so I get back to the debrief, and here's this lieutenant. By now I'm a captain, and I said, "What the hell? God damn you! You told me there was no B-52s." He said, "That's right." I said, "Did you know that?" He said, "Sure." "What? You didn't tell me?" No. He said, "It's top secret." I said, "Top secret?" He said, "Yeah, but you don't have a need to know." Well, Jesus Christ. No need to know. You almost killed me, and you could have told me. Why not? Well, if we told you that we knew they were coming, then they would know that we knew. So that's the history of intel in Southeast Asia. They could never tell us the tactical stuff because then they would know that we knew. It's like Ultra in World War II. When we broke the German code, and we knew the Germans were going into Buckingham or whatever, and they knew, the British knew, but they couldn't get ready for that because then they would know that we knew. And it was awful. It was awful. I mean, a lot of talk about that at the end of the war, about you should have been ready to do something. Well, we were, but it was over and gone by the time the raid was over. So anyway, that was Thailand. In the end, we did frequent wind, or which we called frequent flatus or something like that. And we got all the people out until Saigon fell, and that was the end of that. Back to Phnom Penh, that embassy, the Laotian troops, the Khmer Rouge, came into Phnom Penh, and they got closer and closer. And again, they had these shoulder-fired missiles, and I was bringing in ammunition and water and food like that right down on the runway to stay inside the ring, because we could tell where they were, sort of, and we never lost it. And then they would spiral back out and get above 6,000-7,000 feet. Then they could go right over the top of them, and they couldn't catch them. But a lot, we get C-130s in there. They tried to send in a big tactical unit with radar, and I said, "No, don't do that. No, we got to do that. We got to control it all." "No, bullshit. You get that in there, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it, and it won't be long." So, "Well, but you looked, Major, this, go away." Okay, so in the end, we lost Phnom Penh and Puchatrong Airport there, where we were working out of, and the Vietnamese, the Laotian communists, Khmer Rouge, came in and they killed, I think, 2 million people. They killed every military officer down to the rank of second lieutenant and their families. Why? Because the kids will remember. The kids will remember. Killed them all. 2 million people. You've heard of the Cambodian killing fields. Boy, that was it, and it was a big mess. So, in the end, we got everybody out of Saigon embassy, as many as we could, and then we had to back off because they took over the embassy and drove tanks through the gates, and people were evacuating, escaping, and it was just like what happened in Iraq. I know Afghanistan, people hanging onto the airplane, hiding in the wheel wells and all, and falling out on the runway, and it was awful.
Did you go home on a carrier, or how'd you get home?
No, they sent an airplane after us. We were the last ones. It was a C-130 it was a 123. I don't remember, C-130. They sent an airplane after us, and we were the last ones out of the base. And that base was so secret. It had all the special igloo white monitoring the little transmitters that we would sew up along the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos, and big antennas. And when the SR-71 would come by, that was totally top secret, and you couldn't say that, but everybody on the base could look and see this big antenna up there. And when a U-2 would go over, the antenna would go like this. Okay, yeah, he's flying east of us up over Laos. Good, okay. And then you look up there, and if the antenna goes like that, you knew it was SR-71 going 3 times the speed of sound. So I think we kind of knew when it was coming, but it was no big secret. But we got out of there, and Charlie and I went into Udorn, where we picked up a contract flight, and they took all of us out of there. And boy, I'll never forget that. We went all the way into someplace, Guam, or I can't remember, and then into Travis. I can't remember. And it was over. I can remember we drank every bit of whiskey on that airplane. It was a contract stretch 8, DC-8, and I have a picture somewhere of, we broke into it was out of control. We had a lot of fun. Charlie ended up getting the keys from the purser, the lady. They started drinking too, the whole, thing was just one big party. And he had the keys to the liquor cabinet, and we started passing out their liquor, and it was a lot of fun. What could they do? Send us to Vietnam? And I have a picture. Charlie got into her suitcase, the purser's suitcase, and got a pair of panties and put it over his head with the crotch right over his nose, and walked around like that. And then ultimately he passed out. And I remember we're letting down to land, and she came and woke me up. Tom, where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? I said, I have no idea. Everybody's laying in a big pile. And we finally found him. He was under a blanket, sound asleep. Charlie, do you have your keys? What? No, come on. Charlie, give me the keys that you had last night. And he looked, sure enough, he had all of our keys. To the cockpit, everywhere else. We could go up in the cockpit. Nobody gave a damn. It was a contract plane. We got to do that. In fact, I went into a Kai Tak in Hong Kong one time, up in the jump seat up front, and holy shit, that was exciting. Land up against the mountain and take off the other way. Oh my God. They don't do that anymore. They built a big runway outside of Hong Kong there, and we lost that. Boy, I tell you, the Chinese men, They're not to be trusted. We're going to have to fight them. So that's the end. And from there, went back home to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base because I had no wife. Kay had left me. Your mother had left me at that point, and and after a year, I met Beth, who had married to Tom Gore, Rob's father, and they broke up. And she wrote me a letter on New Year's, would be New Year's '74 or '75, and hey, Dwelle, get up here and rescue me. She didn't say that exactly, but that's how it turned out. And so I went up there and fell madly in love. And she was a fun lady. She was nice. And she really, Rob's mom, she really loved me. We had a lot of fun. We were married 14 years, and it was great. So all through our tour with NATO. And so back home, and life is good. So much for the combat. Now the war is over, Tom. That's it, buddy. Now you're as smart as I am.